In today's video, I'm going to go through my knitted garments from my least worn to my most worn tops. This is such an important time to have this discussion because here on YouTube, there are about to be so many inspiring, cozy, autumnal, just gorgeous knitting patterns that are going to start coming at us before we know it, and it is so exciting. There's going to be the Rhinebeck content, there's going to be all of the new gorgeous knitting patterns that are released, and if you're anything like me, you can get a little bit ambitious and excited to jump into a new project. And my goal with today's video is to help you really take some time to think about the garments that you're knitting and if it fits into a list of different categories that I believe are really important to consider before you take on such a time-consuming project like a sweater. I want to start with my least worn garment and work my way all the way up to the ones that I find myself grabbing on almost a weekly basis when the weather turns cold. I'm not going to go over any of my shawls or accessories or anything like that. It just would be too long of a video. But I have about 8 garments here that I want to talk through with you. I want to talk about fit, yarn, color, and all of these different elements that really make an exceptional knit when you are finished with it, and what I have found to be the things that I gravitate towards wearing the most. So let's start with my least worn garment that I've knitted, and that would be the home sweater V-neck. So here's the description for this pattern, and you might understand why I was so drawn to it. The home sweater is a drop shoulder V-neck sweater that is slightly oversized. It's a timeless classic that will keep you cozy and in style even when you just want to hang out at home. Such a great staple to have, right? That sounded like it was exactly what I wanted, but it just didn't turn out the way that I envisioned. Now, all of these that I'm going to go over today, it is really none of these have anything to do with the pattern. It's not that. It's the yarn that I chose, the color that I chose, the techniques that I used that I would change. I would absolutely try knitting this home V sweater again with a different yarn and with correcting some mistakes that I made. Now, this is the very first pullover that I had ever knitted. It is a superwash wool, and there's something about the texture of this yarn that almost has a squeakiness to it. And I've heard that term used before, and until you kind of feel what that is, it's hard to explain. And it really bothers me. I don't like it. So I have learned from this that I personally have a tactile aversion to some superwash yarns, and this is one of them. I picked this up at a yarn shop in Arizona, in Tucson. I really felt like I wanted to have a memory. We were on a trip on our way to Mexico for the new year, and I picked out a yarn shop on the way for that trip and wanted to get a sweater quantities of yarn and cast something on for the new year. And this was the project that I wanted to do, and my goal was it was supposed to be like a late or an early season spring color sweater. And as you can see with the ribbing, or at least I hope you can see, I think that something just got off with this ribbing. I think I did it almost inside out, like that side of it looks better. So it was almost like knitting the wrong way or something with this ribbing. I'm not totally sure what I did, but the ribbing never looked quite right and it never laid quite right. And just by kind of glancing at it, it's okay, but there's just something about this sweater where it's not quite oversized enough. So I would knit one size up than what I thought. And I think at the time when I took on this knitting project, I was still a beginning knitter, and I was very price conscious of yarn. And I wanted to get the least amount of skeins as possible to knit this sweater. So therefore I remember looking at the sizes and I kind of went to more of a fitted size and not a true oversize. So that brings me to really understanding a fit of a sweater. For drop shoulder sweaters, personally, I think those need to be quite oversized for me to have the kind of relaxed look about them that I'm going for. And then it would also be very important for me that the cuff is quite snug, because with that oversizedness, I'm gonna find myself pushing the sleeves up when I'm wearing it. This doesn't have that. I can't quite push the sleeves up and they stay. I push them up and they just slide right back down in the next few minutes. And it's those sort of little details that when you start knitting your own clothes, you start to realize those little things, those little decisions, like going down an entire needle size or making this cuff much smaller than the pattern recommended so that it is quite snug on my wrist, because I find myself doing that as a busy mom or cooking or doing dishes. I'm always pushing up my sleeves. So I'm finding that in my sweaters, I need to pay attention to how the cuff is going to fit and is it actually going to stay up if I push it up to my elbow. I think the color is not quite right. I think it's a little too yellow. There are some spots that I don't think the camera's picking this up quite as well as I would like, but it almost looks like there's unintentional yellow stains on this hand-dyed yarn, and it just, I don't know, there's just something about it that didn't quite go right. You can also really tell where I was knitting flat and then when I started knitting in the round. So that is another part of this sweater that it just didn't totally flow for me. So there were a lot of technique errors. The yarn wasn't quite right, but the pattern is one that I would like to give another shot at some point. If you've knit that sweater, please comment below, or if you know someone that's knit that sweater, I would love to see how they did it and how it turned out. The next sweater I have misplaced, but I've talked about it on my channel before, which is the Elton cardigan. This cardigan is very basic. I would suggest knitting it fitted. However, this was the very, very first garment I ever knit. This was actually my first knitting project. I got very excited by these colors that I saw at my local yarn shop. I went with a bright watermelon mohair and a speckled beautiful sock weight hand-dyed speckled yarn. It was gorgeous to knit with. The colors were so pleasing as a craft, as something to work on. Those colors are too cool for my skin tone, and I just didn't know what I was doing with knitting. So there was quite a lot of tinking back that I needed to do, and I found that tinking back just a single strand of mohair is quite difficult and time consuming and frustrating. It is a very formal cardigan in my opinion. It's something that I feel like needs to be worn over a dress or with a really nice pair of pants, and it's a very intentional outfit. It's not really a throw it on kind of garment. The pink one that I've made, I essentially now just set that aside for Valentine's Day, or like my daughter's birthday. I wore it for her birthday party this year because it was just so pink. So those are really the only 2 days of the year that I find myself going for that because of the color. It's so pink and not my kind of pink and that was not something that I considered when I was a beginning knitter. I just got excited at the yarn shop about that color, and I didn't really think about what it would look like as I was wearing it as much as maybe I would now. For my style and what I find myself going for now, could be such a beautiful, conservative, almost business formal look in a way, at least in my world, like that. If I ever had some sort of occasion where I felt like I needed to look somewhat professional in what I do, that could be actually a really gorgeous garment to wear over a silk top with some really nice trousers, and like some cute loafers or something. I think that could be a gorgeous, gorgeous look. It's not like high on my list, but just in my dreamland queue. Maybe something in like a gorgeous, rich, dark chocolate color, or if navy is a good color for you, I feel like this pattern would be really gorgeous in a navy. But it is certainly one of my least worn garments, because the technique wasn't super strong. It was my very first knit ever. I should have added the button band, which I opted out of doing, and I would just go with a way more neutral color, such as a deep dark brown. The mustard in the picture that she's wearing is quite special and quite beautiful and has a very cheerful, sunny look. So something like that could work as well, I think, for my taste. Next up, I have the Pohoya Pullover. This is a gorgeous sweater. This is one of those that it's important to think through the climate you live in, and this felt like way more like knitting art than actually knitting a functional garment. Now, we do live in a much colder climate now. We have hard winters. So this has an opportunity to redeem itself this winter. I adore the colors that I went with. This is the Sport Weight Sonder yarn. Absolutely delicious. So soft, so beautiful. This green is my favorite color. I love it. But do I wear it? No, I don't. I gave it to my daughter to wear a few times because I did knit it quite cropped. So it fits her at where her jeans, like right below her belt loop of her jeans. It looks darling on her. I went with the exact measurements that Sari gives for a more cropped look. So for myself, because this is so warm on top, I could see myself maybe one day sewing a wool skirt or a corduroy skirt with like buttons down the front. Would be such a cute look with a top like this in in some really chilly fall days or winter days. Just because of the way that I've made it cropped, it would have to be quite a high pair of waisted jeans. So the problem that I've had with this sweater is I don't know what to wear it with. I don't know where I'm going in this sweater. It needs to be very cold because this is 3 strands of yarn in this sweater. So this is a very, very warm sweater. I have considered knitting this again in different colorways to show you how much my color work has improved, because the dominant colors it's not as clean as it could be. Again, one of my very first my first stranded color work project that I ever took on, and there were 3 colors to manage. So again, it's like a bit of technique, a bit of, I probably should have just knit the body longer. I might even have some of this yarn, so I could rip out the hem and like add 2 or 3 inches to this, and I might do that one day, because it would make this so much more wearable for me if I could throw this on with just a pair of pants that don't need to be very, very high-waisted. Or it just gives me an opportunity to find, maybe a pair of pants or skirt that I could pair with this. But it just was hard to style. This was a hard one to style for me, and one that I didn't often think to wear. It's almost like a holiday knit or a neighborhood, potluck in the holidays sort of look. Again, not an everyday sweater, not something that I found myself wearing a lot. There's nothing wrong with that. But do I wear it very often? I think I've worn it 3 times, and my daughter's maybe worn it twice. Next up, I have another pattern from Sari Nordland, which is the Loom. That's right. This is the Loom sweater from Sari Nordland. This was not the right yarn choice for this project. I'm just gonna cut to write exactly what's going on with this one. How gorgeous, how gorgeous. However, the yarn, I knew it was off gauge. I knew this yarn was a bit bulky. The cream yarn is a bulky weight yarn. The charcoal is a worsted weight yarn, both very inexpensive. I used them in other projects, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. And I just wanted to use up the yarn it was from previous projects. So I kind of had nothing to lose, and I had enough yardage to knit this pattern, and I just wanted to try it out. And man, this was a fun one. I loved knitting this. This was so fun. I just knit it last winter. I should have gone down in needle size with the collar. So I should have known right away, right? Because this is the very first part that you do, and it felt a little bit loosey-goosey. I should have just at that moment started over and knitted a new collar. And when I do this again, when I knit this pattern again, I will really make sure that this is laying the way that I want before I get too far into the project. Because once your collar is done, you can't go back. This is it. This is what that collar is going to look like. So because of that, I find myself layering this, and because of how wide it is on me, I find myself layering this on a white button-up cotton shirt. And I do like the look. It's fine. I think it's really cute. I think it's very cozy. It does have a bit of a homemade look to it, and I like that. I think it's really kind of fun. There's just a few things with it that aren't quite perfect, so I would make those changes. And it's quite a bold print, right? Like, this is not something I'd wear every week, but we did make a trip up to Chicago in the winter, and this was one of the things that I packed as a layering piece, and it was super cute, and I was actually very glad to have it because it really helped with the super chilly winds. Wonderful layering piece. I do have some things that I would do a little bit differently with it, but for the most part, very happy. So happy with the pattern. I just didn't use the right yarn. I just got kind of, creative and took some of my own risks, I guess. This next knit is this is that charcoal yarn from the last sweater I just showed you. I bought it, or I was gifted it for Christmas one year. I was gifted a lot of this charcoal color yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn. This is the Field Day Jacket. Now, when we lived in Arizona, this was plenty for me on most winter days, not all winter days, but most winter days. I didn't need more than just an oversized wool cardigan to throw on as I'm, jumping into the car or going on a walk. This was perfectly sufficient for a sunny winter Arizona day. So I called it my Arizona winter jacket on Ravelry. And I wanted to add a little touch of something different and a little bit artsy, so I did pair it with some mohair. I wanted a bit of fuzzy texture, and I wanted to see a bit of a color shift against the gray, which you can see was achieved with that mohair. It had flecks of green and chartreuse and plums, and it was very interesting mohair to work with, and I just thought it would add a bit of dimension to this and kind of capture that like art teacher vibe that I really wanted with this sweater. I also handmade these ceramic buttons at the pottery studio where I was a student at, and that was just kind of a fun touch for this one. I do wear this and I get a lot of compliments on it. I think it's a really great look. I knit this when I was pregnant, so I didn't feel like it looked super cute on me when I was pregnant because it's oversized and I felt oversized and it was just a bit much. Now that I'm back to my normal kind of frame and weight, I really like the way that it looks. I think it looks great just with a white tank top tucked into jeans, and then this on top of it with some Birkenstocks. I think that's like such a cute fall look, easy throw on and go. This is what I was hoping that this sweater was going to achieve for me, just that kind of like throw it on and go. And this does that. This absolutely does that. The only thing with this one, you guys, because this yarn is so heavy, and it has softened up. If you go back and watch some of my earlier videos on it, I don't know how much I went into this, but it was quite itchy in the beginning. I wasn't sure if I was gonna really like it. And it's still a little itchy. This knit of the wool, what is it called? Knit of the wool, Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in worsted weight in charcoal. That is this yarn. It's kind of scratchy. The more I wear it, the softer it gets. It's much better now. But again, kind of the way that I wear this is I find myself kind of rolling up the sleeves so I can push them up and do things. Otherwise, I don't know, having this long kind of oversized sleeve is kind of cute. And like when I'm driving, I like that I can pull it up on my hands and put it on the wheel, and it's like almost like a mitten. But this is what it looks like. It's cute. It's fine. It's fine. It's a good everyday thing. It's not my most worn, most favorite thing I've ever knit. I went to find a pattern similar to this, but has a little bit more support on the shoulders. There's something about this where it slides off the shoulder that I don't really love. I don't really love that feeling. I really like things to fit well around my shoulders. So unless it's a very intentional off, like wide V off the shoulder look, obviously, but this just doesn't quite sit on my shoulders the way that I want. So if you guys know of a pattern that is just that like everyday long, kind of oversized but not crazy oversized cardigan, and I think a DK weight is what I'm looking for next. This worsted weight plus the mohair, it's just a little bit too bulky and probably why it's doing that. So my gauge was a bit big on that. Next up, we have the Faye summer top. This is gorgeous, and I think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever knit, ever. It's just not an everyday thing, but I knew that going into this. I knew this was going to be a special occasion thing. I have worn this to my daughter's dance recitals. I wear this out on date night. This is the top that when I'm going out of the house and my hair is done and my makeup is done and I want a cute shoe, this is the top that I like to wear. This is the one. The sleeves are so gorgeous and feminine. The fit is gorgeous. For me, I've got to tuck it in, and I knew that knitting this. I knew that it was going to be something that was very blousy, and I was going to like the way that it looked tucked in around my waist and kind of like blousing over my jeans or whatever it is that I'm wearing. So I do only wear this with a pair of very high-waisted trousers that I have. It's absolutely stunning. Knitting this, I learned so much. This is by Irene, Irene Knits? What's her name? Gosh, her stuff, you guys. This was one that I saw it and it was like jaw-dropping. I saw that when I saw this pattern, and I used the exact yarn that she suggested. It is an heirloom. I love, love, love this top. It's just so pretty. It's so feminine. And I'll keep it forever and I'll wear it forever. I don't know. There's something about it that really captures my essence and the playfulness of it and the texture, the cables, the bobbles, everything. It's just the color. This color, I would knit something else in this yarn because the color for me is the perfect blush sand color. You guys, I just am obsessed. It's also a wonderful summer yarn because it has that straw feel to it, but it's not itchy, it's not scratchy. And even on my skin right now where I feel like I've got a little bit of sensitivity from too much sun, it doesn't scratch me or itch me ever. It's very lightweight, it's breezy, and this is kind of an open, obviously it's a very open top, so works in the summer evenings. Absolutely obsessed. Will continue to wear this like on those special days, birthdays. It's so meaningful to me. I absolutely love it. We're getting down to the final two. So it's hard to say which one of these I actually wore like more times this winter. I'm gonna say this one is next. This is the Ranunculus. We all know this pattern. It's a fine pattern. For me, what really makes this so wearable is the yarn that I used. This color is called Oyster, and look at this, you guys. I love this top. So again, it's easy to wear. I throw it on. I love the way the neckline looks. I don't have bra straps showing. It's just like, it's just wide enough to give me like a very like beautiful neckline, but it's not hanging off my shoulders. It has just that little bit of interest that we all love in this pattern around the yoke. I did decide to go with a short sleeve version because I was like, maybe I would wear it more, and I do because of that. Again, this is one that I have knit another Ranunculus. It had a mishap in the dryer, so it's no longer wearable, but as you know, a lot of people here on YouTube who are knitters, it's a very easy, very lovable, very customizable pattern. And I get it because it's so wearable. So I definitely, and I love the ribbing on this, that twisted rib. I think that's what it's called on this pattern. Absolutely love that. The yarn is perfection. I wear this with linen pants all the time in the fall. It's like a look that I go for, and the pants are sort of a mustard color. So what I have found is like really thinking about the bottom half is important with choosing my knits. Before I take on a project, I really need to know like, okay, well, what pants or skirt or what's going to complete the look. Otherwise, I'm not going to wear it. That leads us to my, so far in my knitting journey, this has been the most worn garment, and this is the Broom sweater by Andrea Mowry. I bought this gorgeous yarn. This is the Odang DK base from Farmer's Daughter's Fibers. I really want to knit another one of these this winter. Same yarn, different color. I wear this all the time, you guys. I love it. I can wear it with leggings and just hang around the house, and I have that very like, I'm a very luxurious mom, stay-at-home mom look. I can put it with a pair of like cute dark skinny jeans with a heel and look awesome for going out in the winter evenings for dinner or to a friend's house. This is a raglan sweater, and I realized after knitting this raglan sweater, you guys, this is what I recommend for if you are really thinking about like, okay, I want to take on knitting a garment, because I know that can be a leap sometimes. That's like a scary first decision to make. I highly recommend that you look for a pattern where the increases are happening in these diagonals from like your collarbone to under your arm, okay? That's a raglan, and that's what I suggest because it's such an easy fit to customize and to work with. And for me, it just really shapes the shoulders nicely. It stays on the shoulders nicely. It's not shifting around like a drop shoulder. And, you know, it's not as like formal as a traditional yoke, like this, right? This is what's called a yoke style, right? Where we're just knitting in the round, and you've got that really rounded look. That can be, for some women, that can be kind of hard to find the right fit and for it to kind of just like look maybe the way that they want it to, where I feel like a raglan is way more forgiving in fit. This yarn is perfect. This color is perfect. I think it's called Aqua Mini or something like that. It's perfect. It's perfect for me. I love the wide neck. I don't feel like this turtleneck is scratching me. I love that I went with a bit of a longer length. It's like fully down in my mid hip. I would just copy and paste everything that I did just in a different color of yarn. So you guys, those are the garments that I have knit, that and how I wear them and how I might do it differently, how, you know, styling really, really comes into play. Color is a huge, huge part. It might be one of the most important parts, and the fit that you're going for. Again, for you beginning knitters, or if you're still trying to find the right sweater pattern for you, I am going to be leaning more in raglans this winter. That's where I'm gonna just, because I told you guys in my last video, I'm looking for more of that, just more of these basic, throw it on no matter what I've got going on that day kind of knits, hand knits. I hope you learned something along the way today. I hope that you feel inspired to be selective coming up this fall with the onslaught and the flood of the gorgeous things that we're going to enjoy from knitting designers and other influencers. I just want you to remember to come back to yourself and think about what is it that you want to get out of your knit. Do you want to knit a piece of art? Do you want to knit a special occasion top? Do you want something that you can throw on and just wear every day? I think really understanding your own lifestyle and the things that you really need, and looking at your closet and the colors that you actually love to wear, those are all things that need to be considered when you are choosing and crafting your own wardrobe. Tell me in the comments, what are your most worn knitting patterns? I need to know. I need to know. And even if it's socks or a shawl or something else that you have knit and you just find yourself grabbing it all the time and actually using it, I've got to know what it is. I will see you guys in the next video.